Good morning, guys. So right now I'm going to show you how you can reverse engineer a capstone project before you do one on your own. So at this point, you should have completed step one, watching the video on Do Schools Kill Creativity, and you should have written your open response. You should have completed step two, Introduction to the Capstone, and answered these four questions, and you should be starting step three, which is, if you're watching this video, you've gotten to step three. So I'm going to click over to a real world project that was done that I think would have fit the capstone project. And it is Leah Penniman's Soulfire Farm. I'm going to watch 3 minutes of this video just so you guys have the same information I do about her project.
There are a few things that make me happier than physically farming. Big, sweaty, kind of brutal task. I think I've always known in some form that this farm and this work around connecting people and land needed to exist.
You wanna be free of your anxiety. So catchy. I think the wind likes it.
My name is Leah Penniman, and I'm the founding co-director at Soulfire Farm in Grafton, New York. Soulfire Farm is a Black Indigenous-led community farm that's dedicated to ending racism in the food system and training up the next generation of activist farmers. Between 1% and 2% of farms are Black-owned, which is down from a peak of 14% of Black-owned farms in 1910. And this is not because Black folks don't want to farm. This is because of a whole legacy of discrimination, of institutional racism. I grew up in a small rural town called Ashburnham, Massachusetts. I'm the oldest of three, and we were, for most of our childhood, the only brown kids in our entire school. And we experienced just a lot of social exclusion and racial bullying. It ranged from taunting, being called names, to assumptions about our intelligence. The land and the forest were a salvation for me. I attended every single farming conference that I could afford to go to. But by my late teens, early 20s, I started to get disillusioned because I'd look around at these farming conferences and all the presenters were white, and I looked around and there was only a handful of people of color. A mentor of mine said something so important to me at that time. She was just like, look, don't give up. I know that right now it seems like you're out of place, but remember that our ancestors have been farmers for millennia, and that our ancestors built the agricultural system of this country on their backs. I was really grateful that she was there and encouraged me to stick with it. My partner Jonah and I were living in the south end of Albany, New York with our then infant children, Nashima and Emmett. And despite our master's degrees and over a decade of farming experience, found it impossible to get fresh food for our children. There were no supermarkets, no farmers markets, no available community garden plots. The only food is a corner store, a liquor store, and a McDonald's. This system of segregation is termed by the government a food desert. To us, there's nothing natural about apartheid. So we call it what it is. It's food apartheid. It comes out of a legacy of redlining and housing discrimination, of divestment from communities of color, and has resulted in the situation today where if you're white, you're 4 times as likely to have a supermarket on your block than if you're Black. You're more likely to have diabetes, heart disease, and other diet-related illnesses, not because you don't know how to eat, but because there is a scarcity of affordable, culturally appropriate quality food that's accessible. And so we worked to establish a community garden right on the corner plot near our home. So when our neighbors found out that we knew how to farm, they encouraged us to start the Farm for the People. And the idea for Soulfire Farm was born. We purchased the land in 2006, and it took us 4 years to transform this marginal, degraded, and vacant land into human habitat and suitable farmland. And we opened the farm in 2011 with a small food distribution program that went right to our neighbors in the South End.
Okay, I'm going to pause that video right there. That's the thing I'm thinking about. Where this group got by 2011 is the thing I'm thinking of as their capstone project. So if I go back to my assignment here, what you are all going to do for the options that you're given to choose from for reverse engineering a capstone project is what I'm going to model doing right now for you. So first I have to identify the big idea or research question that the person explored. And I'm going to just sort of say the big idea was to create a Black-owned farm that, I'm sorry if you can hear my daughter in the background. She's just saying yes, yes, yes in the background. All right, the big idea was to create a Black-owned farm that could feed the community living under food apartheid. The audience for the project, I would say, was the community living under food apartheid in Albany, New York. The value was providing these people with, I'll just say, life-giving and necessary nutritional food. The learning activities, this is actually, this in the work plan. Obviously, Leah Penniman would know a lot more details from me, but just from that 3.5 minutes, I heard that they worked first to create a community garden. It seems like she might have mentioned like decades of learning how to farm. There was a lot of farming conferences she attended. There was learning how to purchase land. There was learning how to turn arid soil into farmable soil. I'm not sure if farmable is a word. Okay, there's more that I could put in there, but for the sake of this video being short, I'm going to stop there for a minute. The work plan was probably a little bit harder for me to tell, not having conducted it myself. So let's go into the actual farm building. So the work plan was, let's say, first secure funds to purchase land, then turn the soil into farmable land, then plant while simultaneously establishing a program to feed the people from the community this farm was intended to support. The coaching stance, we don't know for sure the coaching stance that Leah Penniman probably wanted her mentors to have in this regard, but she does mention one person saying to her, don't give up. So I'm gonna refer to that person. She wanted culturally relevant coaching. A mentor reminded her to never give up and gave specific examples of how her ancestors built the foundation of this country's agricultural system. Whenever Leah was feeling isolated and out of place. And then the resources they needed to complete their project, I'm sure there was a ton, perhaps more than we're going to have available to you all in this short project window, but the securing either personal, governmental, or community funds to purchase necessary land and tools. It also says people and things. So mentors in the farming industry were certainly necessary in this one as well. And I could go on a bit further, but I want to stop. So what you're going to do now when you move on to step 4 is do the same thing you just saw me do, only on you're going to choose one of the sample capstone projects, and you're going to try and reverse engineer how a person could go about doing that. Thanks, Malaya. All right. Good luck, guys.